The moment the calendar shouted December 1st, something entered Mrs. Victoria Thompson's body like spiritual currents. Her eyes brightened, her voice changed, her walking steps became faster, and suddenly she started behaving like someone appointed as minister of Christmas clothes and festive extravagance affairs. Every morning she would wake up before the rooster, stand in front of a small mirror, adjust her wrap like a runway queen, and whisper, "This year, my enemies will know that I am still their mother." Her husband, Mr. James Thompson, a calm man with a patient spirit, would quietly tie his shoe and pretend he did not hear because he already knew December turned his wife into somebody else entirely. She was normally loud but manageable. However, once the Harmattan breeze blew and Christmas songs started playing, her brain would start singing, "Buy clothes or die trying." In their neighborhood, everybody knew her madness. Even the neighbors' goats avoided her because she once told one, "Move, you don't know fashion." Victoria was obsessed. No, possessed by clothes. She believed Christmas was not for eating or resting. It was for slaying matching outfits, expensive lace, designer shoes, and family photos that made you look richer than your entire generation combined. Meanwhile, James had only one worry: money. And the money was not moneying. He worked in a small printing shop where the boss promised salary on the 25th, but usually paid on the 31st because you know the economy now. The rent was waiting. Food prices were jumping like popcorn, and January, which normally had 31 days, usually behaved as if it had 62 days. One evening, as they ate rice without chicken because chicken was expensive, James cleared his throat and started the discussion slowly. "Victoria, this Christmas we will manage what we have. The children's clothes from last year are still fine. Your dress is fine also. My shirt is fine. Let us use what we already have." Victoria dropped her spoon dramatically as if he said she should drink kerosene. She opened her mouth like a broken cupboard. "Manage." James nodded slowly. "Yes, manage." Victoria touched her chest. "James, are you trying to kill my social life? You want people to be discussing me behind my back? Do you want Mrs. Patricia Davis to say I am suffering? Christmas comes only once a year. Why should my enemies see me repeating clothes?" James sighed deeply and begged her again, using a soft voice like a teacher calming a stubborn child. "Please, let us be wise. Money is tight, and you know January will be long. Let us behave ourselves." Victoria smiled sweetly. Too sweetly. In fact, suspiciously sweetly. The kind of smile that meant she had heard him, but she would still do what her spirit wanted. "No problem. My husband. We will manage." She said it calmly, but in her heart she was shouting, "Over my dead body," because Victoria had a personal rule. Even if I don't have food, I must have clothes. The clothes can console me. And from that night, the madness started brewing. She began scrolling through online shops like someone in a trance. She saved pictures of lace that cost more than her rent. She checked anchor styles with 50 yards of fabric. She checked children's designer shoes that glittered like disco balls. And as she scrolled, she whispered, "My family must shine like Christmas stars. We cannot enter church looking like second-hand cotton." She even started measuring her children secretly while they slept so James wouldn't suspect anything. Her daughter woke up once and screamed, "Mommy, why are you tying tape on my leg?" Victoria whispered, "I am checking your future. Sleep." Then, just like Eve and the serpent, Victoria met Mrs. Grace Okonkwo, the credit seller, a woman known for her sharp mouth, sharp calculator, and sharper memory. She could forget her own birthday, but not her money. That afternoon, she passed their compound with bags full of beautiful clothes, shoes, and wigs. Victoria's eyes locked on her like a magnet. She smelled like the devil selling discounts. "Madam Victoria, come and see Christmas clothes. Take them now. Pay after Christmas. Small payment are allowed." Victoria trembled like someone receiving a prophecy. Grace continued sweetly, "Your family will shine. People will talk. Everybody will admire. You can pay later." Victoria's entire spirit left her body and came back. She waved her hands. "Let me see them." And that was how she entered the temptation. Well, she didn't even just buy one. She didn't buy two. She bought matching family Christmas outfits, 3 children's clothes each, a wig that looked like imported mermaid hair, glittering shoes, and even sunglasses for picture effect. She bought clothes worth 185,000 Nigerian nairas, a full month's salary. Unfortunately, Victoria didn't care. She was floating in excitement. She hugged the clothes like a treasure and whispered, "December will fear me this year." She smuggled everything inside the house like a criminal transporting contraband, hid them inside a large storage bag under the bed, and walked around smiling with pride. The children asked, "Mommy, why are you smiling like that?" She replied, "Mind your business. You will soon see wonders." And so the countdown to Christmas began. December 24th, the revelation. December 24th came early, stretching its shoulders as if it purposely came to scatter somebody's life. Before the sun even opened its eyes fully, Madame Victoria had already swept the compound 4 times, washed the children's teeth twice, ironed imaginary clothes, and checked the storage bag under the bed at least 6 times to be sure the Christmas outfits were still there and had not grown legs to walk away. She could not sit still. Excitement was jumping inside her body like a premium malaria parasite mixed with sugar. She kept smiling suspiciously at her husband, James, who was still thinking about Christmas rice, chicken, soft drinks, and how they would manage January. Around 8 a.m., Victoria decided that the time had come. She locked the door, dragged out the big storage bag, opened it slowly like a treasure chest in an adventure movie, and arranged the clothes on the bed with pride shining in her eyes. She called the children with a voice that had too much drama. "Michael, Sarah, Emma, come and see Christmas miracle." The children ran in like excited goats, and the moment they saw the clothes, they screamed like people who won scholarships to Canada. "Wow, Mommy, new clothes, new shoes, new sunglasses." They jumped on the bed, hugging everything and rolling on the lace gown that cost as much as their rent. Victoria was smiling like someone who just bought the future. She even fanned herself with the children's new socks. Then James entered. He froze. He blinked. He checked the room number to be sure he entered the correct house. Then he whispered, "Victoria, where did all this come from?" Victoria did not even allow him to finish the sentence before she raised her hands to heaven and shouted, "My husband, a miracle happened." James's eyebrows touched each other. What miracle? Victoria placed one hand on her chest dramatically like a Nollywood auntie giving testimony in church. "Somebody blessed us this Christmas. God said we will shine. He brought these clothes to wipe away our poverty tears." James squinted his eyes. "Somebody who?" Victoria smiled a smile of someone who was manufacturing lies right there, live and direct. "A friend. She doesn't want her name mentioned. She said God told her to bless us." James looked at the children, at the clothes, at the wig shining like imported mermaid hair, then back at Victoria. "Victoria, be honest. Did you borrow these clothes?" Victoria placed a finger on her tongue as if she wanted to swear but changed her mind halfway. "Borrow? Over my stylish dead body. My enemies will faint this Christmas. We will look like royalty." James sighed. Something didn't add up, but he did not want trouble. It was Christmas Eve, after all, so he decided to trust his wife because what else could he do? He was tired of stress. Meanwhile, Victoria was already planning her Christmas Day entrance like an international superstar. She rehearsed poses in the mirror, practiced slow-motion walking, and even coached the children. "When we are entering church, all of you must walk gently. No running, no scratching body. Smile. Let the angels envy us." The children nodded like soldiers receiving orders. She later stepped out of the house to fan herself and pretend to be humble while secretly waiting for neighbors to admire her clothes. Mrs. Patricia Davis passed by, and her scream echoed inside the compound. "See Christmas clothes. You people will slay." Victoria smiled like someone being worshipped. However, while all this was going on, Mrs. Grace Okonkwo, the credit seller, was sitting in her shop, pressing her calculator with the anger of 10 accountants. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 weeks. 4 weeks to wait before I collect my money. She hissed so loudly that even her ancestors heard. "I have changed my mind. Today, I will collect my money by fire, by force." She gathered 2 strong women assistants with loud voices, and they rehearsed their entrance like a military operation. No mercy. She must pay today. By 6 p.m., James returned home carrying his December paycheck, smiling because he wanted to buy chicken. They would cook stew and maybe even fry plantain. He would make sure his children enjoyed Christmas. Victoria welcomed him like an angel of joy, dancing and shaking her wrapper. But just as soon as James sat down, they heard a sound at the door. Boom! Bang! 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 The knock did not sound like an ordinary knock. It sounded like tax collectors mixed with police mixed with an angry landlord. This was the kind of knock that makes the heart jump out of the body. James looked at Victoria slowly. Victoria looked at James slowly. The children hid behind chairs. Mrs. Grace Okonkwo and a debt-collecting squad stood at the door like avengers from the market. Grace lifted her voice. "Madam Victoria, we have come for our money." The knock came again, louder. Bang! 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 Then another voice followed, a voice that had no respect. "Victoria, open this door before we open it ourselves." And right there, their Christmas began to scatter. The debt collectors arrive. James rubbed his forehead slowly and turned his head like a slow-moving robot to face his wife. "Victoria, what is going on?" Before she could manufacture story part 2, the door burst open, and Mrs. Grace Okonkwo, the credit seller, marched in with 2 muscular assistants who looked like they were crafted from pure frustration. Grace wasn't smiling, not even small. Her face was squeezed like someone smelling rotten fish. "Good evening. We are here for the money." James blinked. "Money for what?" Grace threw her hands dramatically like an actress in a Nollywood film. "For the Christmas clothes your wife bought on credit. Expensive ones, imported ones, matching family sets, leather shoes, lace, wig, stockings, all of them. Pay now." James stood still. He did not blink. He did not breathe. He did not even move. He simply replayed the sentence in his head like a WhatsApp voice note. "Christmas clothes your wife bought on credit." Slowly, he turned to Victoria, who was already shrinking like dried leaves with her head on her chest as if something was dragging her throat. "Victoria, tell me this woman is lying." Victoria opened her mouth, but no words came out. Only hot air escaped like a deflating balloon. Grace clapped sharply. "My brother, she's not deaf. The total is 185,000 Nigerian nairas. Bring the money now." James felt his spirit leave his body, checked the situation from outside, and then returned with disappointment. 185,000 Nigerian nairas. One of the debt collectors added confidently, "Sharp, sharp. No delay." Victoria finally found her voice. "James, my husband, please let me explain." "Explain what?" James exploded. Grace, who was not interested in any family drama, pointed to the storage bag. "If you don't pay now, we will collect these clothes back. All of them, including the children's socks. Bring them out." The children screamed. "No, not our Christmas clothes." Victoria grabbed the bag with both hands, hugging it like a baby. "Please, don't touch the clothes. They are brand new. We must slay tomorrow." The neighbors began gathering at this point because where there is noise, there is free entertainment. Mrs. Patricia Davis, the unofficial CCTV of the compound, stood at the doorway with her arms folded. "Aha! Today we will see Christmas drama." James turned to Victoria slowly, shaking with anger. "So you went behind my back, bought clothes on credit, and lied it was a miracle?" Victoria stammered. "My husband, I just wanted us to shine small. People are watching us." James threw his hands in the air. "Let them watch your stupidity." Mrs. Patricia shouted from outside. "Yes, sir. We are watching live." James paced the room like a lion in a cage, rubbing his head, sweating, thinking of rent, thinking of food money, and thinking of January hunger that bites like a stubborn dog. Grace tapped her foot impatiently. "Mr. Man, where's the money?" James froze. His December paycheck, his only Christmas hope, his January survival. Slowly and painfully, he walked away, kept the envelope. His hands shook as he opened it. Victoria cried loudly, begging, kneeling, holding his leg in his trousers, holding everything she could hold. "James, please, don't finish the money. Please, I am sorry." But she was the one who opened the gate for trouble. James handed the entire 185,000 Nigerian nairas to Grace, who counted it faster than a calculator. When she finished, she nodded. Balance correct. Merry Christmas. She turned and walked out like a dark angel of destruction. The compound was silent. James stood in the middle of the room, looking empty. Victoria knelt, crying as if someone was peeling onions inside her heart. The children stared at the ceiling, wondering why their lives were behaving like a Nigerian movie. Finally, James spoke. Very good. So tomorrow we will wear expensive clothes, but no rice, no chicken, no drink, no nothing. Victoria wept. I am sorry. I am sorry. James shook his head. No need. It is not in my place to judge December pressure. The neighbors dispersed to go and gossip properly, while the family went to bed hungry. Christmas morning, the hunger parade. Hours later, Christmas morning arrived with full brightness. The bird was singing, and children were shouting in excitement everywhere. But inside Victoria and James's house, the atmosphere was darker than a storm during a power outage. Hunger was sitting on one chair, shame was sitting on another, and regret was lying comfortably on the floor, fanning itself. Still, the clothes had to be worn because money had already died for them. By 7 a.m., Victoria pulled out the matching outfits with the weakness of someone carrying an emotional load. She ironed them heavily, pressing the clothes as if she was trying to iron out her mistakes. The children were excited, jumping around, completely unaware they were dressing up for a hunger parade. Michael shouted, "Mommy, see, I look like a prince." Sarah twirled in her lace gown. "Mrs. Patricia will fear me today." Victoria forced a smile, but inside, her stomach was singing empty songs like a talking drum at a funeral. James dressed in silence, slowly buttoning his shirt like someone attending court for a crime he didn't commit. When he looked at himself in the mirror, he sighed deeply. Fine boy, empty pockets. Victoria had planned to wear makeup, but her tears from the night before had swollen her face. Still, she dusted powder anyhow and told herself, even if I'm dying, I must be fine on the outside. By 8:30 a.m., they stepped out as a family unit in matching clothes, shining shoes, coordinated colors, and hungry faces disguised with fake smiles. Immediately they stepped out of their door, Mrs. Patricia Davis shouted, "I see elegance. You people are matching." Another neighbor added, "Money is talking. God is good." James almost fainted, while Victoria laughed awkwardly. "We thank God. We thank God." But in her mind she cried, if only God would hide me in his armpits until today passes. They walked to church like slow-moving royalty, holding their bellies so hunger would not embarrass them on the way. At the church entrance, one usher screamed, "Wow, family goals." Another one whispered, "Hey, money day their house, oh." But only God and James knew the truth. There was not one grain of rice waiting for them at home. As they sat down, their stomachs started singing the national anthem. "We are hungry. We are hungry." Sarah asked, "Daddy, what are we eating after church?" James looked straight ahead, blinking slowly like a robot malfunctioning. "Ask your mother." Michael asked, "Mommy, what will we eat?" Victoria answered without blinking, "Holy Communion will collect too." Meanwhile, the pastor was preaching about joy, but James couldn't focus. Every time the pastor shouted, "Hallelujah," James heard his lost paycheck screaming. Victoria couldn't focus either. Every time the pastor said, "Rejoice," she remembered the money she wasted and wanted to remove her wig to cry properly. After service, as families took pictures, rushing to go devour the chicken and jollof rice waiting at home, the Thompson family took pictures and walked sluggishly to go meet the emptiness waiting for them at home. When they got home, James entered the kitchen, came out holding a loaf of bread and a small bag of ground nuts, and announced, "Merry Christmas, my dear family." The children looked confused. "But Daddy, where's the rice and chicken?" James calmly said, "Your mother has eaten the rice." Victoria screamed, "Eh? Which rice? Me? Rice?" James looked at her slowly. "You used rice money to buy wig, right?" The children gasped. Victoria covered her face with both hands. They sat around the table, all of them wearing expensive lace, glittering shoes, and matching outfits, but eating dry bread with groundnuts and water. Neighbors walked past her window, smelling of fried chicken and meat pie, while the Thompsons swallowed silent and shame. Even the bread looked embarrassed. The youngest child, Emma, tasted the bread and whispered, "Mommy, this bread tastes poor." James stood up and left the table before he would say something that would send him to prison. Victoria wanted to cry, but she ate her bread instead because tears could not fill the stomach. The entire compound talked about their outfits. Nobody even talked about their hunger because nobody knew what went on behind the scenes. And that evening, when Victoria removed her clothes and folded them, she realized something foolish. I suffered all this emotional damage for clothes people only admired for 2 minutes. Meanwhile, January was already waiting outside the door, sharpening its cutlass, because after Christmas bread comes 62 days of January suffering. And the Thompson family was about to receive a full contract. Exactly a week after Christmas, January entered like a stubborn landlord, loud, unapologetic, and ready to collect everything. While other families were still posting Christmas pictures with leftover chicken stew, the Thompson family was doing prayer and fasting by force. Not because they planned it, though, but because there was simply no food to eat. James's transport money finished by the 5th of January. Victoria had stopped joining compound gossip meetings because she knew the entire neighborhood saw her family eating bread and groundnuts on Christmas Day. Every morning she woke up and prayed, "God, carry me through this month. January is doing too much." She began walking carefully in the house as if hunger was chasing her. One morning, James was ironing his shirt quietly when the iron suddenly stopped making heat. It meant their electricity units had finished. James looked at the iron, then at the ceiling, and shook his head. "So you two want to disgrace me?" He dropped it and sighed. They now cut soap into 2 pieces so it would last longer. The children carried leftover cabin biscuits to school for lunch. James trekked to work on some days because there was no transport fare. Victoria now counted beans as if she wanted to do lottery. Everything was tight. On the 12th of January, Victoria nearly fainted from stress. She looked at James with fear in her eyes. "My husband, what do? We have nothing." James looked at her slowly. "Victoria, if you did not buy those clothes on credit, we would not be here." She broke down crying. The shame of December was following her like a shadow with long legs. A few days later, the landlord knocked. "Good afternoon. I am just reminding you that rent will be due soon." Victoria screamed internally. James held his head. However, January continued stretching like a rubber band. The days felt long, like 62 days squeezed inside a 31-day month. Their neighbors were still cooking jollof rice, frying meat, eating fruits, laughing, and gisting. Meanwhile, the Thompsons were practicing quietness ministry. One evening, as they all sat on the floor, Emma asked something innocent but painful. "Mommy, will we drink bread again this Christmas?" Victoria swallowed her shame with saliva. "No, baby. Next Christmas we will eat rice and chicken." Michael added, "Mommy, next Christmas, please, no new clothes. Let us use our old clothes and eat food instead." That one finished her. Victoria burst into hot tears, crying from shame, regret, and hunger mixed together. She crawled to James's feet, knelt, held his legs, and apologized. "My husband, please forgive me. I allowed Christmas pressure to enter my head. I allowed pride to control me. I made us suffer. I didn't listen. I wanted people to talk good about me. But look at us. Nobody even remembered our clothes after Christmas. All the suffering was useless." James sighed deeply and lifted her up gently. "Victoria, I love you, but you need to understand that a family eats before it shines. If you hadn't experienced this firsthand, maybe you wouldn't still understand contentment and humility. Clothes cannot replace food. Life is not a fashion parade. We should manage what we have until God blesses us more." She nodded, still crying. "I have learned my lesson, and the lesson beat me well." In February, when the paycheck finally arrived and they ate a proper meal, Victoria folded the Christmas clothes and kept them aside. She purposely avoided them because whenever she opened that storage bag, she saw hunger, debt, shame, and mistakes. From that day onward, whenever a friend said, "Let's buy new clothes for Christmas," Victoria would reply, My dear, it is better to eat rice and smile than to shine and eat bread with groundnuts. Her new motto became, clothes don't make Christmas. Food and family do. When the next Christmas came, she didn't buy anything new. She ironed last year's clothes proudly, cooked jollof rice with chicken, fried plantain, bought drinks, and when Mrs. Patricia Davis shouted, "Victoria, where are the new clothes?" she laughed peacefully. "They are in the store. This year, we are shining in the stomach, not in the streets." That year, the Thompson family had a peaceful, joyful, and shame-free Christmas because Victoria had learned the lesson December taught her, that it is better to eat well and rest than to shine in suffering and pretend for people who will forget your clothes in 24 hours. What lesson did you learn from this story? Have you ever experienced Christmas pressure? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched you, please share it with your loved ones. Remember, family and food come before fashion. Until next time, may your Christmas be filled with true joy. Wishing you a Merry Christmas in advance, and please click and subscribe.